Namaste viewers, welcome to the Indian Lawyer Legal Tips. Today with us we have Mrs. Sushila Varma, Advocate and Chief Consultant of the Indian Lawyer and Allied Services. Today's topic is Judicial Review in India. Ma'am, welcome, and should we begin?
Yes, Harini, I think it's a very important topic. Let's start.
So our first question will be, ma'am, could you please explain what is judicial review?
Judicial review in very simple language means scrutiny by the judiciary over the actions of the executive, that is the government, or over the actions of the legislature, that is the parliament. So what happens is the court will review what is being done by the executive or the legislature, whether those actions are correct or not, and if they are not correct, they have the power to set it aside.
So ma'am, does the Constitution of India provide for judicial review?
Yes, Harini, the Constitution of India provides for judicial review, and by judicial review, the judiciary protects the fundamental rights of its citizens. In particular, Article 32 would be a great example of judicial review.
Why is it that judicial review is very critical?
Judicial review acts like a system of checks and balances. That is, if anyone does any act which would go against the interest of the nation, the judiciary, like a watchdog of the Constitution, will be able to put a check on such misuse of the powers by the executive or the legislature. Now, judicial review does not only restrict itself to the executive and the legislature, it can also go on to judicial decisions passed by lower courts. That is, when courts have passed judgments without considering what the law is, or they have misapplied the laws, then in such a case also the judiciary, that is the higher courts like the Supreme Court, can review the decision by using their judicial review powers.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Could you please also elaborate as to what are the categories of judicial review?
To my mind, there are three categories, that is the legislative action, the administrative action, and the judicial decisions. Now, legislative action, I've already explained to you, is what is the act of the parliament. And when we talk about executive, we are talking about the government bodies or government-related organizations. And when we say judicial, we talk about the lower courts.
Very well, ma'am. Can you please also give us any case law on this judicial review subject?
Well, let me discuss two important case laws pertaining to judicial review. The first would be a case called Shreya Singhal versus Union of India 2015, a Supreme Court judgment. In this particular matter, Shreya Singhal challenged Section 66A of the Information Technology Act, which clearly stated that if anyone publishes anything which is indecent on the internet, that person could get arrested immediately. Now, Shreya Singhal made out a case, she was a law student, she made out a case that if this section was to apply, then she would lose her freedom of speech, and as such, her fundamental right would be lost. The court, after reviewing the entire case, agreed with her, and in turn, they deleted Section 66A from the Information Technology Act 2010. So that is not to say that today, if you publish something very indecent or vulgar on the internet, you will go scot-free. No. 666A at that point of time made it mandatory that a person would get arrested if they tried to upload anything indecent. Now, of course, you can still get arrested, but there will have to be other provisions of the law, and it will have to be shown as to why you should be arrested and why you should not have been allowed to upload the content which has been uploaded. Now let us come to another another type of judgment which has been passed in administrative actions. This particular case is a case again by the Supreme Court of India. It is called Mahesh Chand Bareth versus State of Rajasthan 2024. It's a judgment in which Mahesh Chand Bareth challenged the advertisement issued by the government of Rajasthan, in which the government of Rajasthan was inviting applicants for the post of a school teacher. In the advertisement, the government of Rajasthan had made a concession, and they had said that if anybody had prior experience of teaching, that would be considered as a bonus, and even if the age was beyond the age limit, they would still be considered. Mahesh Chand Bareth was of the opinion that this particular exclusion should have been omitted. The court, however, disagreed with him, and they upheld the advertisement that had been put up by the government of Rajasthan, and the position of the teacher would include the exclusions that were mentioned in the advertisement.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for enlightening us with such important judgments. So far we've learned about the positive side of judicial review. So, are there any limitations as well on the subject?
Yes, of course, Harini. What happens in judicial review is that the judiciary gets a lot of power. Sometimes this power can be misused. So what happens is when it is misused, it is known as judicial overreach. Courts should protect themselves against acting in a manner that would be deemed to be judicial overreach for many reasons. First, it hampers the working of the legislature and the executive. Secondly, it could create a wrong precedent for other courts to follow. And thirdly, and possibly the most important, the faith of the common man in the judicial system. So if there is a judicial overreach, the common man may stop believing in the integrity, in the honesty and the independence of the judiciary. Hence, it is always cautioned that judicial review, while being a very powerful tool in the hand of the judiciary, should be exercised in a judicious and careful manner.
And so, how do you want to conclude today's episode?
Well, democracy depends on three pillars, that is the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. If even one of the pillars is not working properly, there is bound to be problems. Obviously, there has to be a system of checks and balances. That is, one organization should try and see how it can check or how it can balance the powers of the other. At this point of time, there would be only one power that is being exercised, that is the power of judicial review. And yes, it is correct that many a times it is being overused or misused. So what one should really look at is how to keep a balance between the three main pillars of a democratic society, and most importantly, how to uphold the constitution and the rights that have been given to the Indian citizens. And I think with this, I would like to conclude that judicial review, while it's an important power, it's a power that must be used sparingly and very carefully by the judiciary.
For joining us today on this important topic of judicial review. It's been very informative, and I'm sure our viewers would have also learned a lot about this topic from this episode. So with this, very big thank you to all our viewers who have watched this episode, and it's a request to please like, share and subscribe, and also hit the bell icon, and to circulate amongst your network for a larger outreach.
Thank you, viewers, and I'm grateful to my team for having provided the information for us to be able to record yet another episode. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any queries or questions. Please also note that these are only legal tips and should not be used as legal advice. If you need any legal advice, you must approach a lawyer. Thank you and namaste.